What's up, everybody? Welcome to the East Pittsburgh Fitness Podcast. This is unofficially episode 13. I have episode 13, or what was supposed to be episode 13, already recorded. However, this is a special occasion episode that we're going to slide right in there and make it the real 13. So my guests today, I'm going to just jump right into it. We're not going to mess around with formalities. My guests today are Dom and Josh over here, which this is one of the first times you guys have seen the podcast on video, so I wanted to show you their pretty faces. They are running a super awesome fundraiser. 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, but a week and a half. Yeah, not this coming weekend.
Yeah, I'll post this today, barring any unforeseen circumstances. We'll get it posted today so we can get it out there as soon as possible. But we wanted to bring this to the podcast just so that my enormous, expansive audience is able to be exposed to this fundraiser, and you guys kind of have an idea of what's going on, and maybe if you are interested in getting involved, you will be able to do that. So, Dom and Josh, tell us a little bit about yourselves, just kind of background, what you do, and then we'll get into kind of how the fundraiser came to be from there.
All right. So my name is Josh Heintz. I am a jack of all trades these days. So I am a strength and conditioning coach. I race pro motocross. I'm also a mechanical engineer by degree. And I also have a newly budding custom concrete company going. So all over the map, but essentially what led me to get into the strength and conditioning side of things on my end was just training myself for pro motocross. So as some of you may or may not be aware, motocross is an extremely physically and mentally demanding sport. And if you are going to compete at that and an elite level, you definitely got to be on your game in all aspects of that, physically, mentally, strength, agility, cardiovascularly, everywhere in between. So in an effort to better myself on that end, I kind of pursued some different certifications and did a lot of research on my own and kind of turned it into a little side career as a strength and conditioning coach. So that's kind of how that side of my current career came to be. And 5 years later, here we are. So
lots of side careers there. I like it.
Yes, definitely a lot going on, but it's all right. It keeps it interesting for sure.
That it does, no doubt. All right, Durham, how about you?
So my name's Dom Caldararo. I'm a strength and conditioning coach over at Pure Edge Performance Training. I've been a strength coach for 5 years now. Got into the field around 2016 when I graduated from Slippery Rock with my exercise science degree. I've always been from the strength and conditioning world. I've always enjoyed training for sports through high school and everything like that. It really wasn't until I met Josh, I don't know, this was probably maybe 2-3 years ago, we really started to get more into the endurance side. So I was never a runner, never really liked running, always just wanted to lift, always wanted to do stuff in the gym. And then kind of as Josh was training for motocross, we, met in the gym and just kind of started working together on, he was training for motocross. I was just trying to train and get a little bit better and do things a little bit differently. And that's pretty much what led me down the road of endurance and kind of really what started Project 48. The whole thing started, just from our love of the challenge of endurance. And that's pretty much it.
I love it. So we've mentioned Project 48 now, we've mentioned endurance. Let's hear a little bit about how the fundraiser came to be, what it is, and give the people some details on what is actually involved in this, because I know I watched you guys go through it last year and wanted to kill myself the whole time. So let's hear all about Project 48.
Yeah, so we'll kind of break that down a little bit. So we'll start with what is Project 48. So Project 48 is a 48-hour continuous endurance event relay for fundraisers. So this year we are pairing up with the Mario Lemieux Foundation. So all proceeds are going to the Mario Lemieux Foundation. They focus on pediatric cancer research, patient care, and then they also have their subsidiary, which is Austin's Playrooms, which is a really cool initiative that they have to kind of help out the families of those people dealing with those difficult situations, both in the hospital and just helping in all aspects of their treatment. So an awesome foundation. We're super happy to be dedicating Project 48 proceeds to them this year. But Project 48 itself. So this year we have 4 runners. And the objective for us is to keep one of the 4 of us running for the entire 48 hours. And then essentially the goal is just between the 4 of us to run as many miles as possible within those 48 hours without ever stopping running between the 4 of us. So that's kind of Project 48 down to its core, is just 4 guys. We have a 4-mile trail loop laid out at North Park. Woods Pavilion is going to be our home base this year on Southridge Drive. So if you guys are in the area, May 14th at 5 p.m. is when we're starting. So from May 14th, that's Friday, May 14th at 5 p.m. until Sunday, May 16th at 5 p.m. If you need Dom or I, we will be in the woods running circles. So yeah, so that's essentially Project 48 in a nutshell. And as far as how it came to be, it's kind of an interesting backstory. So really this, like Dom was saying before, I was never really into ultra running. He was never really into ultra running. It's kind of just the combination of both of us pushing each other led us into, I think you did your first marathon, Pittsburgh Marathon a couple years ago. It was like, well, Dom did a marathon. Now I want to do one. So then we did marathon on the mountain, and then we did a 50K together. Then you did a 50 miler, and then it kind of, we were just progressing. And the next thing on the list was a 100 miler. And that was scheduled for April of 2020, actually out in Zion, Utah. So that was the plan. And don't know if any of you heard out there, but there was a little thing last year called COVID-19 that shut that down. And so we had been training for, honestly, since the beginning, months and years at that point to get to where we were at. And it just kind of took the wind out of our sails. Like, man, we did all this training and all this work and all this time and all these pre-race events and everything. And just to have that pulled out from under our feet so quickly, it was just kind of left us in just this weird gray area. So we just kept training. Honestly, we were just like, wow, this is, at this point, something will come up. And we were literally at North Park on a training run, just kind of talking. And we were like, man, we have all this training. We should do some kind of good with this rather than just like make it all for naught. So it literally was on a training run in April last year where we just kind of came up with this concept of, hey, we should do some kind of fundraiser. Why not make it an ultra run? And next thing you know, we kind of talked after the run a little bit. We kind of talked about it later that week, and Project 48 was born. So that's pretty much the backstory.
Any additional input there, Dom?
Yeah, I think too, just like as we were running, when we were coming up with the ideas, we knew that it had to be the idea behind the 48 hours. We knew it had to be something that would attract people's attention, right? All right, if we're going to try and raise money, we need to attract people's attention. So as we're going through like how we were going to set it up, we're like, well, we could run, a 50 miler, but we had done something like that before. So it didn't seem as unique. We're like, maybe we could do like 24 hours, and that still didn't seem like enough. We're like, what if we did, 48 hours of just continuous, we're going to try and run for that prolonged period of time, see as far as we can go. And that would really grasp people's attention. It's something that I don't think too many people would really consider doing. So that was another thing. We're like, all right, we need to do something that most people wouldn't really even want to try themselves or like consider. It needed to sound really unique. And that's kind of really where the 48 hours came in as well.
Yeah, I will admit that I want nothing to do with it based on what you're doing. So it worked for rappelling fat losers like me. Okay, so first of all, kudos to you guys, because I actually, like, having worked with Dom and with you too, Josh, really, and been around you guys training a good bit. I did not know the history of where it came from. It was just kind of something that popped up on social media last year from both you guys, and it was really cool. I didn't know that it was a transference of your training from the Zion run that you were supposed to do, which I did know about that. I didn't even think about it getting canceled with COVID, all this. So kudos to both you guys for taking, like you said, taking that training that you already had and transferring that into something positive that's going to, like, make a difference for someone, right? You're doing something super positive with it. That ability to just change on the fly and to make a terrible situation for everyone really into something positive that is going to be beneficial, like I said, to other people who need it. And I think that's something for the listeners to take home from this. If nothing else, you listen to this podcast about these guys talking about their fundraiser, great, but let's not lose sight of that mentality and that willingness to adapt and change what you're doing to make a positive out of a negative. I think that is super, super cool. Knowing that this is year 2 of it now, we've done it once. This is a new iteration of it. It's changed a little bit from last year. First of all, how did it go last year? What were you guys' thoughts during, after? How much money did you raise? And then from there, what adaptations or changes did you make to the event leading into the second version of it this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year was gnarly. I'm gonna be honest. It was it was definitely just to start off, we made it. All 4 runners ran across the finish line on hour 48. So mission accomplished. But yeah, it was definitely it was every bit as difficult and more than we thought it would be. So it was definitely an appropriate challenge. And it was a really eye-opening experience. I think when you can strip yourself down that far to the point where your only objective for the next 48 hours is to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and that's the only thing you have to focus on. It's a pretty cool mental spot to be in. I mean, it's obviously there's things that come and go. I mean, any ultra runner knows, or even marathon, or even anybody who's ran in general knows that it's pain comes and goes, and that's a part of the game. But it's kind of just putting that aside and focusing on the bigger goal, especially in the later stages. I mean, when we were 30, 35, 40 hours in, I mean, that's when it really became a lot more of a mental game than necessarily a physical game of running, because it's and especially with all the training we've done. I mean, you can run 4 miles at a time, but it's just those limiting factors that creep up is really what you had to start dealing with. But no, last year was great. We actually ended up raising just over $9,000 last year, which blew my expectations completely out of the water. And I am still super appreciative for everybody that supported us last year. So last year we split that between the Metabolic Cancer Research Foundation and the Allegheny County Frontline Relief Fund for the COVID frontline relief workers, because that was kind of right in the thick of things last year. So we wanted to kind of help those people out as much as we could. And then as far as the metabolic cancer research side of things, my mother has been dealing with her own battles with cancer over the past couple of years. So that was just kind of in an effort to give back there to some of the incredible people that have helped her out. Luckily, she's in remission as of earlier this year. So awesome news there. And yeah, onward and upward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Dom, anything?
Yeah, I think just some differences from last year, just from the running standpoint, we're really going to try and focus on not just going way too hot into it in the first few hours. I think last year, we were pretty pumped. We were pretty excited. And the first, I would say even like quarter to half of it, we were running a little bit too fast, and we were just trying to rack up as many miles as we could. which was, I mean, the mentality was there and it was good. This time it's going to try and a little more in that ultra marathon kind of idea of we're going to take it slow. You know, we got to go. The whole plan is to go for the entire 48 hours. We're not trying to just hit a certain number and be like, all right, you know, we hit 50 miles, we're going to quit. It's like, we have to make it 48 hours. So we're going to try and take it a little bit slower, pace ourselves out. Just from the foundation side too, last year we kind of set it up through GoFundMe, and we were trying to find different ways of how we can, you know, reach out to charities and get people to donate. And it was kind of hard at first, like going through GoFundMe, finding all these different charities. So teaming up with the Lemieux Foundation has made a world of difference. They've helped us out a lot. It's been much easier just on our side. They have experience with this kind of stuff, so they've been able to help us. So that's been a really big step forward for us, I think, is just being able to pair with a really good corporation. I think that'll make a big difference this year.
100%. Yeah, no, I'd like to get a little bit more detail on that, because I know whenever I saw that you guys were paired up with Mary Lemieux Foundation, as a former hockey player and an aspiring Pittsburgh Penguin that never made it there, that was a really,
There's
really
still
awesome.
time, Jeremiah. There's still time.
Oh, yeah, 27 years old, rookie. Yeah, right. I'll be right there next year. But no, whenever you guys brought that up and started posting on social media that you teamed up with them, that was like a super, super cool thing for me. So I'm really curious to get a little background on how that came to be as well.
You know, honestly, it was just we were just kind of spitballing for partnerships for this year. And their name was kind of in the running. I mean, we were just looking for, I mean, we definitely want to keep this thing helping out our local community as much as we can. And I think that was a great option for that. The Lemieux Foundation does some incredible work locally here in Pittsburgh. And it was really seamless, honestly. I just reached out to one of it was basically just the contact form on their website, and their marketing director got right back to me, and we had a phone call. I kind of just explained what the event was, what we wanted to do, the partnership that we were looking to make with them, and they were super receptive to the idea and have been amazing ever since. So yeah, it was great and continues to be great working with those guys.
That's awesome. All right, so you have a new foundation, we have a new charity that we're donating to, and we have a new location. I'm curious about that, because I know it was just kind of like a backwoods event at your house last year, Josh. Is the switch to North Park, is that more of a publicity movement, or is that just kind of like change of scenery, don't want to run the same loop that we did for 48 freaking hours last year?
What? I'd say it's a lot of both. So little known fact about last year is Dom and I took 2 rakes through the woods with leaf clippers and created that 4-mile trail. So that trail did not exist at my house until we made it last year specifically for this event. So it took us, honestly, probably almost 70 to 80 hours to build that trail. We spent more time building the trail than we did running on it, if that even makes sense. So
that's amazing.
So the way that things worked this year, one, there was the fact that we never really wanted to see that trail again after last year. So definitely looking for a change of scenery. Obviously, to the publicity side of it, it's awesome to be able to do it at a local community park where there's just going to be a lot more visibility on the event and hopefully get the word out to make it bigger and better from here on out. So
awesome. Yeah, awesome. So I know, Josh, that we when we were planning this podcast, you mentioned, and I had to hear more about this, that you were going on 100.7 to promote the event a little bit. I want to hear a little bit about how you got that set up and what that was like. Because I'm just a small town country boy here. So for me, that's you get this big name promos, Mary Lemieux Foundation, Star 100.7, like local radio. Super cool. So I want to hear about that.
Well, I actually won't know until later on today because I have the interview with them this afternoon.
Okay.
So,
So it hasn't happened yet.
but yeah, as far as just how that came to be, it was just kind of a friend of a friend works in their marketing department, and they heard about the event through my wife, and one thing led to another, and they got in contact with their radio personalities, and they were super interested in the event and wanted to do the interview. So hopefully it goes well later today, and I'll if I get huge on the radio, Jeremiah, I'll never forget you where I came from. So
what time are you supposed to go on there? What time are you going on?
So I think it's actually going to air tomorrow, which will be Thursday. On their, I think it's going to be their 3:30 segment, but I don't know that for sure yet. I can verify that with you before you post this.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear about that, just so we can give that a good promo as well. I know it's a little bit lower key than my big podcast here, but
yeah,
still a neat thing there. All right, so we've talked about the event. We've talked about last year. We've mentioned in passing that you guys were trained up for it last year and didn't know what to do with the training, so you just created the event. What does that training look like, especially this year, being that it's year 2, you've already done it once. So what does the training look like for both of you guys leading into this?
Yeah, I mean, Dom, you can...
Yeah, last year when we did it, it was a lot of volume of running, because like he said before, we were training up for 100 miles. It was the first time we'd ever thought about that distance before. We knew we had to get a lot of volume in, so it was just a lot of running throughout the week. We were running 4 to 5 days a week, 30 to 50 miles at a time, depending on where we were. We were just trying to accumulate as much volume as we could, and at some points, it almost seemed like we were trying to push the limits a little too much. So this year going into it, we backed down the volume of running a little bit. Our main goals were still to keep a high work capacity. So we did a lot of weightlifting, a lot of different style of running, some shorter, higher intensity stuff, some hill sprint kind of stuff. We've done a lot of resisted running with some sleds and weighted vests. So we're trying to hit it from a different angle. Because last year we felt good. Like during the run, everything felt pretty solid. But as a way to bring down volume, kind of change it up a little bit, try a little different aspect, it's been a little bit of everything, at least from my side. I know his side as well, but he can speak on that.
Yeah, so I think just kind of going along with what you said, Dom, last year was a lot more running focused, and I think if you, especially as you're first getting into ultra, I think it almost has to be that way for the first year or two, just to really get those miles under you, get everything adapted to that prolonged abuse from from all the connective tissue in your feet, your knees, and your hips, and just everything getting used to that continuous stress. But once you kind of have a year or two of that continuous ultra running type training under your belt, I almost think it's good to go back and revisit that a little bit and kind of change things up, and maybe not necessarily do just strictly the long endurance runs, but like Dom said, we're starting to mix in a lot of the resistance type runs, a lot of sled work, a lot of just different strength work to really focus it on any imbalances that we had, any overuse injuries that we might have had from the past couple of years, just work on some corrective exercise stuff there to get things back in alignment and ready to go. So a little bit different approach this year than last year, but definitely still running a lot.
Yeah,
still feel really good.
There's no way around that, unfortunately. But I do like I like what you said there, that you kind of need that foundation in ridiculously high volume running first, and then you can kind of build off that once you have that work capacity. And it's a good concept for even just your general strength or your general like weekend warrior runner, is that more is not always necessarily better. There's a lot of other aspects to preparing yourself to perform your best on a run, whether that's for 48 hours or for a 5K. And that's about my capacity right there as a 5K. Stout effort right there. But no, I love that you're covering that from all angles. It's not just, okay, we're doing a 48 hour run. we got to run all the time. That's a recipe for a disaster as far as injuries and overtraining. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys are taking the comprehensive approach. Love it. Music to my strength coaching ears. All right. So we're trained up. We're ready to go. The event is coming. It's number 2. First of all, what are the fundraising goals for it? Like, what numbers are we trying to hit here? Where are we at right now? And then what are goals for it going forward? Because we've done it once, we're getting ready to do it twice. I don't foresee that this is going to be the last time we see Project 48.
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely plan on keeping this an annual event moving forward. For this year, I mean, I was honestly so blown away by what we ended up as our final totals last year that I don't even really know where to go with the goal from this year. I mean, in the back of my head, I would love to break the 10 grand mark, since we were actually relatively close to that in year 1. I mean, I think that'd be an incredible benchmark for us to break that for this year. So that's I guess if I had to set a goal, it'd be to get above that and see where we go from there. But who knows? I was blown away last year, might be blown away again this year. So we'll see where we're at. But yeah, that's as far as the miles go, I think we're definitely going to try to. So last year as a team, we didn't cover this yet. So last year as a team, we ran 244 miles between the 4 of us. So I would like to see us get above 300 this year. I think it's something that we can realistically do. If like we said, if we go out not quite as hot as we did last year, I think that kind of burn us on the back end a little bit, to where if we can keep a little bit more consistent pace throughout the entire event this year, I think we can be stronger in the end and be able to put up a lot of miles in the last 12 hours that we were not able to do last year. So
yeah,
that's kind of
slow and steady
where
approach.
we're at, but
no doubt. How about you, Dom? Do you have any input on the goals there, or mileage, or financially what we're going to raise?
Yeah, I would say I would agree with Josh on the financial side. To try and beat what we got last year is definitely the goal. You always want to try and improve each year as you go on. So I think that $10,000 mark is a pretty good next goal for us. And like he said, we want to try and get as many miles as we can. We're a little bit, we got a year under our belt, so we know what to expect. We kind of have a better idea of our training, and we knew what to do coming into it and what to change last year. So we're feeling good to come into it that way. And then as far as down the road for Project 48, I think a next goal for us is just to try and make it so that we can get as many people, to like pretty much do it with us as we can. We want to, build this to eventually it's maybe not just the 4 of us. Maybe there are other teams of 4 and there's multiple people doing this race and it really just starts to become bigger and bigger.
Right. So, yeah, and 100% going along those lines. I think with this year and even from last year to this year, that was kind of our original intention, but just with everything going on the tail end of the pandemic, it's still a little bit difficult logistically to really have an event of any kind of size where you have a lot of participants. So for this year, we're keeping it to just the 4 of us again, but moving on in the future, once we're kind of beyond the logistical constraints of the pandemic, absolutely, that's our goal, to get people involved, to have anyone who wants to participate, even to make that a little bit more feasible for those who want to kind of dip their feet into it, maybe have different segments you can sign up to do, just a 6-hour segment or a 12-hour segment or half of the event or something like that. So all those things are in the works. We're also looking at bringing in other disciplines. So maybe bringing a biking component to it, or maybe a swimming component or something like that. So definitely a ton of new ideas on the table for next year. We'd love to be able to start bringing participants on, of anyone who wants to get involved with the actual event, as far as from the endurance side of it. And yeah, we'd love to have you. So that's definitely the plan moving forward for the next couple of years.
You have to let me know whenever you add in the barbell back squatting complex.
For 48 hours.
48 hours.
48 hours of squatting. It seems healthy, honestly. I think it'll be fine. All right. Well, I love it, man. I think you guys are on the right track there. We're setting the right goals. Growing that into what could potentially be a really big event would be absolutely wild to see it. But that's how these things start. It's a couple of buddies deciding to do something wild and then just letting it grow organically from there. So I definitely look forward to seeing what Project 48 becomes in the next X number of years that we do it. Final thing I have for you guys: how can people get involved? It's a fundraiser. We need donations. We need other supplies, I assume, just to make sure you guys are fueling yourselves well. I don't know what the restrictions are, if any, on people coming to the site, anything like that. How can they get involved in Project 48?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, anybody who is interested and has the ability to donations, that's first and foremost. So the donation links are on my website and on my social media. And I'm going to give all those links to you, Jeremiah, as well, so you can access that on your platforms. But the Mario Lemieux Foundation was nice enough to set up a specific page just for Project 48 within their mariolemieux.org donation page. So everything's specific. If you go on there and donate, it'll get accredited to our event specifically, so that we keep track of event totals from there. So first thing is to donate. The second thing, we are allowed to have people come out and I mean, it's a public park, so they can't, if you're at the park, it is what it is. There's not really anything restrictive wise there. So yeah, we definitely love to have people come out and stop by while we're running. We're going to be at the North Park Woods Pavilion on South Ridge Drive. So that's up by the pool, kind of that little loop around the baseball fields there up past the pool. So yeah, if you're in the area and you're out there looking to take a hike or a walk around South Ridge Drive or hanging out by the pool, I mean, absolutely feel free to stop up and check out what we got going on. We'll have some tents up there. We'll have some displays for some of our other sponsors that we have up there. So you guys can check those out. You can check in on us. We'll be cycling through right there, and that's going to be our home base. So whoever's not running that time will be up there hanging out, waiting to get back at it. So
Eagerly waiting, I'm sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, like Josh said there, guys, I will make sure that I get the links from them for donations. We'll put those in the show notes. We'll put them up on YouTube, wherever we post this stuff up. And yeah, please, if you guys are willing and able, throw some money at that, and let's make Project 48 something special for the city of Pittsburgh. That'd be really, really cool to see. I guess last thing I have for you guys, so they can follow along with just you guys in particular, where can they find you on social media, or even if they are looking for some coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So my personal Instagram account is Heintz 788. That's kind of a lot more geared towards the motocross side of things. So if any of you guys are curious about that side, that's definitely where to find info on that, on what I'm doing for motocross season this year. As far as my training business, Catalyst Performance Factory, and that's catalystperformancefactory.com. That's also Catalyst Performance Factory on Instagram. I'm going to have a lot of Project 48 updates on there as well, and the donation links there as well too. So absolutely, any and all those channels, feel free to reach out to me with any questions, concerns, or say hey.
Yeah, and mine, I'm just on Instagram. Mine is just my name. It's @Dom_Caldararo. Through there, we'll be posting stuff. So posting stories and just regular posts so you guys can keep updated, share some of those so it just reaches out to as many followers as possible. We'll have donation links, like you said, in our bios and everything, and be posting kind of constantly where you can find the donation links. And where to follow it, and it'll take you right to all the donation areas. And that's it.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys taking the time to hop on the podcast. I know I was supposed to be there in person, but I scheduled things poorly and didn't coordinate with people well. So I think putting this on Zoom is a better option anyway. It gives us the visual as well as the audio. So it won't just be on your podcasting platforms. We'll get it on YouTube. We'll be able to share it on social media a little bit easier. So we'll definitely be blasting this out heavy over the next week or so, and see what we can make Project 48 turn into.
Sure.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having us on, and see what we can do with this thing.
Yeah, man. Always happy to have always happy to have new content to put on the podcast, since that's my main roadblock to recording new episodes. All right, guys. Well, hey, I will talk to you soon. We'll get all the links from you, and let's get this thing blasted out on the interwebs later today.
All right, cool, man.
Sounds good. Thanks again,
All right, guys.
Jeremiah. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man.